Imagine going in for a routine ultrasound. You're expecting one baby, and then the doctor goes quiet. They tilt the screen toward you, and you see 2 heartbeats. Or 3, sometimes even more. How does a single pregnancy become multiple children at the same time? The answer is stranger, and more fascinating, than most people ever realize. Let's start with the most common type of multiple birth, twins. There are 2 completely different ways twins can happen, and they are not the same thing. The first is identical twins. It all begins with a single fertilized egg, called a zygote. Shortly after fertilization, that egg splits into 2 separate embryos. Because they developed from the same egg, identical twins share nearly the exact same DNA. Same genetic blueprint, same biological origin, but then there are fraternal twins, and these work entirely differently. Instead of one egg splitting, 2 separate eggs are released and each is fertilized by a different sperm cell. Genetically, fraternal twins are no more similar than any other pair of brothers and sisters. They just happen to share a womb at the same time, so even within the category of twins, the biology behind them is completely different. Now, if twins already sound complex, triplets take things even further. Here's where it gets really interesting. Some triplets come from 3 completely separate eggs, each fertilized by a different sperm. In that case, all 3 siblings are fraternal, genetically distinct individuals. But some triplets happen in a combination of ways. For example, one fertilized egg might split into 2, while another separate egg is also fertilized at the same time. The result? 2 of the triplets are identical to each other, and the third is fraternal. 3 siblings, 2 different biological origins, all in the same pregnancy. And it doesn't stop at 3. Scientists and doctors have documented pregnancies involving quadruplets, quintuplets, and in extremely rare cases, even more. The more multiples involved, the more complex the combination of identical and fraternal relationships can become. Each of those pregnancies tells a different biological story. Now here is something that most people have never heard of. There is an extremely rare phenomenon called polar body twinning. Here's how it works. Before an egg is fertilized, it goes through a division process. This division is uneven by design. One part becomes the mature egg. The other, a much smaller piece, is called the polar body. Normally, that polar body is discarded. It simply breaks down and disappears. But in theory, what if both were fertilized? Researchers believe that in extremely rare cases, this might actually happen. If both the egg and the polar body were each fertilized by a sperm cell, twins could potentially develop. These twins would be somewhere between identical and fraternal. Not quite the same DNA, but not as different as fraternal twins either. A biological category all their own. The reason we say, in theory, is because polar body twinning is incredibly difficult to prove. You would need very specific genetic testing to even suspect it happened. Most scientists believe confirmed cases are extraordinarily rare, but it remains a real and documented scientific possibility. So, when you hear about a twin or triplet pregnancy, know that the story behind it is never quite the same. One egg can split, multiple eggs can be fertilized, a combination of both can happen, and in incredibly rare cases, something even stranger may be at play. Multiple births have fascinated scientists, doctors, and curious minds for centuries. And we're still learning new things about them today. The next time you hear about twins, triplets, or more, remember, every single multiple birth begins with an incredible, microscopic biological event. One that most of us will never fully see, but one that quietly shapes entire families.